Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Conductor's Game Changers. We're glad you're here. I'd like to first of all start by acknowledging my teammates Grace Rains, and Ethan. Ethan's there as well. They serve on the Conductor team. We're glad you're here. For those of you who don't know a lot about the Conductor, we are an entrepreneurship support organization. We're a public-private partnership between the University of Central Arkansas and Startup Junction Consulting. We spend our time doing a couple of things. One, hopefully building entrepreneurial culture around the city and the county and the 11 counties surrounding Faulkner County. We provide one-on-one coaching, consulting, and support. We provide training and workshops and events. And then next door, just across the way over next to Einstein's Bagels, we have a makerspace where you can go and tinker and test your creative engineering capabilities and do product prototyping. We have a master maker over there by the name of Jason Huselton. So we're glad you're here. This is one of our flagship events that we have on a monthly basis. And today it is my pleasure to introduce you all to Mr. Greg Lasker. Thank you for being with us, Greg.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely, absolutely. You might pull your mic up just a little bit.
All right.
Let's test it a little here.
Mic check, 1, 2.
There you go.
Mic check, 1, 2.
Everybody here all right?
Got it?
It's probably just my hearing. Very good. So let's start out and tell us a little bit about Greg Lasker, the person. Just start as early as you want to start and just bring us up to speed with who you are.
Who is Greg Lasker?
Who is Greg Lasker?
Right. Okay. So first, I'll start by apologizing. Here's the caveat: is I've never done this before, right? So there's no telling what I'm going to say. Okay. I don't think I'm going to freeze up. That's for sure. But who is Greg Lasker? Let's start by saying that my core is that I'm a believer. I'm a Christian. In God I trust. So all my decisions are most in all of my decisions are tethered, if you will, by that core belief. So let me tell you who Greg Lasker isn't.
Okay.
And let me flip that for you. I'm not a con. I'm not a fraud. I'm not a cheat. I don't steal. And that's what I am not. Versus all the positive things about integrity, and I'm a fair guy, and I could go on and on. That sounds a bit egotistical.
Okay.
But I was raised with a shovel in one hand and a Bible in the other. And that's where my belief and my work ethic comes from.
Okay. Raised here in Conway.
Raised here in Conway. This is my I like to call it my backyard, my home. So yes.
Okay. So from what I understand, you were a little active in sports here in Conway. Tell us about your years as a Wampus Cat.
My years as a Wampus Cat. So again, I've been here all my life, and so I was a athlete, a basketball, football, baseball, football, baseball.
Track?
Track, thank you. I ran a little track too.
Okay, I figured you did.
And so I was at Conway High. I graduated Conway High in '82. If you do the math, that puts me at 55 today.
Okay.
Yeah.
You went from Conway to the University of Arkansas?
I did.
Played a little football there as well. Tell us about that.
I did. So I was blessed enough to come out of Conway High in '82, and I was recruited by Coach Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz was my first 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year. And then Coach Ken Hatfield was a head coach my last 2 years, my junior and senior year.
Okay.
And I played football there and ran a little indoor track.
You ran track as well?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about the experience with the Razorbacks. So you, some of the most memorable, maybe a memorable experience or two.
Wow. Well, fortunately, my 4 years there, we went to a bowl game every year. No, we went to a bowl game 3 years. I don't think we went to a bowl game my junior year, maybe? You guys maybe know that better than I do. I don't keep up with that. The thing that I probably remember most, we were in the Southwest Conference at that time. So all of our trips were to Texas. All of the trips were to Texas. So it wasn't that exciting all the time getting on the plane and we're not going towards the East Coast or the West Coast. We're always landing in Dallas somewhere, So that was
okay.
Yeah.
So graduated from the University of Arkansas. You majored in
I majored in banking and finance.
banking and finance.
I did, yeah.
Excellent. And then did you always hope that you would play in the NFL?
I did. So I probably started dreaming, envisioning about being as my aunt would say, I think I was about 8 when I told my aunt I'm going to be a football player, And so I would say about my junior year, probably, at Arkansas is when I thought I was going to have an opportunity. I thought I was going to have a chance. Yeah.
And that came with whom?
Pardon?
That came with whom?
You
That
mean-
chance?
So I was drafted in '86. I'm telling you a few things that I didn't realize for quite some time, but I was the 53rd player taken.
Okay.
Right, in the second round, and I was the second defensive. I'm sorry, I was the third defensive back taken.
Okay.
But the first safety taken, which I thought was pretty cool.
Very good.
Yeah.
So what was it like? First year in the NFL, you're in the Super Bowl.
So that was mind-boggling. Actually, I'm 22 years old, and we're playing and we're winning and we're winning playoff games and it was just quite unbelievable that that final division playoff game it was my my Disney World experience, So for those of you, most of you guys, I'm sure you've seen a Super Bowl ring before, right? Have you had one in your hand and held one, that sort of thing? No? Would you mind if I pass mine around?
It's awesome.
Would
Let's
you
go.
like to? That's fine. Now let me tell you this, though. So normally when I've done this, I used to teach at Purdue.
Yeah, we're going to come back and talk about
I
that.
taught school, and so inevitably, the first day of class, you do your introduction, and the students had heard that this guy had been an NFL player and he played in the league, and he has a Super Bowl ring, right? So to get all that out of the way, I would do my introduction and pass it around, and I would say, just like I'm going to tell you now, that we'll pass it around. If we get a runner, so back in the day I used to run a 4.3. I think I can run about a 4.6, 4.7 now. I will catch you. I promise. So we'll pass that around. Now, here's the other caveat. Don't drop it, okay? If you drop it, run.
Very good, very good.
All right.
That's great. So I appreciate you doing that. So you were a few years in the NFL,
Yeah.
and what did you do after the NFL? What decisions did you make then,
Wow,
life-wise?
interesting. So in my short run in the league, I played 3 years. I played, what would that be, 80, 86, 87, 88. And that's about, I think that's still about league average. 3 years, 3 games, something of that nature. After I finished, I was released, and I tried out for a couple of teams that next year. And after that 4th year of not getting on a team, then I decided, okay, well, it's time for me to go on about my life, right? And so the first business I ran here in Conway was a medical billing service. And so I ran that here for a while. Sold that to my partners. We were Lasker, McKinney, and Winston. Lasker, McKinney, LMW, thank you. And so then I left, and I returned back to New York. I had a friend of mine that wanted to put together a magazine, and it was called Gladiator. And we actually produced a couple and put it on the street. But I went to go help her publish and launch that. Well, while I was there, I got talked into going to an acting class, going to a monologue class. Well, so we're 3 weeks into this monologue class, and it's my time to get up and do my monologue, right? And never done that before, never acted before, never had that thing. And I got up, and I realized that I thought I could do it. I thought I could make that separation. So that took me down the road of wanting to become a professional thespian, an actor. And you know, I did some off-Broadway work. I've done some work at the Williamstown Theater Festival in Vermont. I've done, you know, some commercials and whatnot. So you asked what I did right after football was to wanting to become an actor, and I did some light modeling in New York and in Europe, and I'd fly back and forth to Paris and that, and do a little runway work.
Very good.
Before I got that.
I understand. I wouldn't have one of those. I don't know what you're talking about there. So let's talk about Greg Lasker, the academic.
All right, what about it?
How did you end up in academia?
So again, not a door, not something I ever thought about doing. So in 95, I had moved home to help in a succession plan of our company business.
And that business was?
Lasker Construction.
Okay.
Right? And so when I got back, I thought, well, I'm not sure that I have the necessary tools I need, right? So I went to take a construction management course at UALR. That's where I met my mentor, one of my mentors by the name of Michael O'Day. Mr. O'Day, Professor O'Day, started the BCM, Building Construction Management program at Euler. I went in to talk to him about taking a couple of classes. Next thing you know, we're best friends, right? Next thing you know, he's working for my company along with all the other adjunct professors at Euler, right, during their summers off. That goes on from 95 to 2005. But Mr. O'Day leaves about '03, gets out of academia, goes back into industry, moves to Indiana, right? And he gets talked into teaching again. I go visit him and his family for Thanksgiving '04. About the time that I'm backing my way out of the construction business here, right? And he says, well, have you ever thought about teaching? Nope. And he said, well, let's go take a tour around the campus, right? And let me introduce you to the department head.
And this was at Purdue.
At Purdue.
Okay.
I met the department head, and I came back home. This is Thanksgiving. About right after Christmas, I get this call from the department head, and he says, well, we'd like to interview you. Would you send me your resume? Well, sure, I'll send you my resume. I don't have a resume, but I'll make one up. Right. So, you know, I spend the next day and a half, and I'm in bed, matter of fact. I'm in bed with the crud, and I'm sweating, and I don't, you know, and it's just a bad deal, right? Anyway, I send my information in. I'm invited to do the interview and come in, and, you know, they bring you in, and you meet the department and the college and all those folks, and then they asked you to come in and teach a class, right, and do your little spiel, and I did, and apparently they liked it enough to hire me, and I was hired as a assistant tenure track professor, and believe it or not, man, I figured out how to, with a lot of help, you know, the research, the writing, and went up for tenure and got tenured and the whole deal.
So you spent 6 or 7 years there at Purdue? 8 years?
8, yeah.
And what made you leave Purdue?
Okay. Number one, I'm not a fan. I knew when I showed up the clock was ticking, right? One, because I was really not a fan of Indiana, right? Quite honestly. Sorry, Hoosiers, and any of you guys from that area. And, you know, the university is virtually dropped in the middle of a cornfield, and so you're, you know, an hour and a half out of Indy and another hour and a half out of Chicago, and just kind of wasteland, if you will. So wasn't really crazy about all of that, and, you know, I had gotten a new department head, and I wasn't the biggest fan of his, and neither, I believe, was he of mine. However, right after that, I lost my younger and only brother that was 8 years younger than me, and he was always here in terms of being around, loving on, and taking care of my parents. Fortunately, I still have both mom and dad. I have lunch with them every other day, and they're both 80. They live 5 miles from here. So once I lost my brother, right after, let me back up. Right after I got tenured, I shook my department head's hand and gave him what I call what a piece. Anyway, I can't think of the name of it. I went in my office, I closed my door, I put my head down, and I prayed. I got out a map right then and tried to figure out, all right, where am I going? Because I just wasn't really happy there.
Gotcha. So before we shift gears, let's talk about what you're doing now. You're an entrepreneur yet again, right? So from being an athlete, professional athlete, to an entrepreneur, to an academic to back to being an entrepreneur. So let's talk about what you're doing now, and then I want to shift gears and talk a little deeper than just recounting the past.
So when I came home 5 years ago, I think it was. So I'm kind of twiddling my thumbs and saying, you know, what's next? What am I going to do? And I had a friend of mine that runs a cybersecurity division for Walmart, and he asked if I would come up and work with him as I would call it a integrator, if you will. Now this is not my term, mind you, but he says, you know, I have this department of propeller heads, he called them, you know, I guess computer geeky people, I don't know, you know, but he said, well, I have these propeller heads, and we have all these customers, right? And they don't speak the same language, and I need somebody to help do that. It was my first corporate gig, and I did it for 18 months, and I think I realized that I'm not a corporate guy. I'm not a corporate man. I'm not a company man.
What about that made you decide you were not a corporate guy or a company guy?
I don't know. I watched my folks both be entrepreneurs, right? Mom had a daycare. Dad's been in business all his life on his own, and I've watched my family do it. And that thing about when you're, what's the terminology? When you're on your own, the anonymity,
right,
is the word I'm looking for, I guess. And you know, I love great mentors like yourself, mind you, but I've never been real strong on people telling me exactly what to do and when to do it.
Got you. And so now you're running Lasker.
Now I'm running Lifestyle Homes.
Lifestyle Homes.
Right. I'm a residential custom builder. I help individuals and families, couples that help them vision, dream, design, and construct their new home sweet home.
So your life has been marked by what I would call, and one of the reasons that I think I've connected with you is because I see some similar aspects of just reinvention. Vastly different tracks of life from, obviously I was never an NFL player, much less a Super Bowl champion.
You could have been.
But just complete what people would believe to be or look to be as a revolution, multiple revolutions in your life. In mine, I call them evolutions. They seem like revolutions, but they were really evolutions. So talk about reinventing yourself a little bit.
Well, I've always, my secret sauce is I've always been curious.
Okay.
Right? And when I'm interested in something, I go deep and wide and long, and I want to be great.
Okay.
Right? I'm sure we've all read Good to Great. You know.
Yeah.
So when there's something out in front of me, I'm a go-getter.
Where did that come from?
Again, I would have to tell you, family. I have to tell you, mom and dad, particularly dad, the drive, that the movie Officer and a Gentleman. You'll have to help me with the lead guy,
Gear,
Gear.
Richard Gear.
And so the sergeant is basically, testing him, testing him. But, that one crucial line that he says, he's trying to make him go home. And he says, I have no place to go, right? And that sort of drive is a burning desire for me when I have something in focus. Because it's just hard for me to turn off.
Okay. Let's talk about, build a bridge, if you will, between your years as an athlete and your experience in business, and maybe talk about one of the greatest lessons you've learned as an athlete that you've been able to carry forward into your professional world.
Well, this is a broken record, and that is that perseverance, that never give up, knowing and really knowing what you know and what your skills are, and despite naysayers, despite everybody in the room saying you can't do that, I don't read my press. I've never read the paper about something that was said. I just a burning desire to win.
And however you define winning, right?
Yeah, but I won't say by any means necessary.
Oh, of course,
you.
yeah.
As
Okay.
I said, I'm not a cheater.
Right.
Right.
So we've talked a lot about Greg Lasker's successes, transitions. You know where this is going now. Let's talk about a Greg Lasker failure.
Yeah. So I think I think I was 23, 24. And that was a time in the NFL where some transitioning was happening, meaning I thought I could go and give my all, do my best during the season. And then I thought I was free to leave and go about my business, whatever that is. And for me, it was always about the next thing, or I actually came home and opened a business, right? And I'm saying then, back then you could play, and then I thought you could leave and go do your thing. But there was a different expectation, right? For me to maybe stick around and work out there. Well, I was going to be working out I was going to be in much better shape if I left, because I was going to work out at home and do my thing, right? So let me take you from that to today. It's a full-time job, right? When season's over, some guys will take a couple weeks off, maybe, right? But for the most part, they're working on their game all the time. Different than what it used to be. So the failure was that I think it was my second year. The Giants wanted me to stay and work out up there, and I said, well, I'm good. I can go take, I can handle this. I can go do my thing. And I believe my father pulled me in, and he said, well, and I didn't know any of this was going on. I believe Coach Parcells at the time knew Coach Ken Hatfield, and he called him and said, well, what's going on with Lasker? I asked him to do blah, 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 and, you know, and I didn't know that Coach Hatfield had called my dad, right? And so he was trying to say, hey, don't you think you better go back up there and just, you know, just let him know that you kind of want to be around him? I'm like, nah, I'm good. I got this. Right. And that was a signaling. That was a failure because that next year, Coach Parcells sent me
Packing.
Right? And it didn't have anything to do with my skill set as much as he I think he wanted to kind of psychoanalyze all his guys, right? And I'm like, I don't need no psychoanalyzing, you know? So that was a bad decision.
To what do you attribute that decision?
Which decision?
The one to just say, no, I'm good, and maybe not pick up on the nuances. What was it? Youth? Was it lack of self-awareness? What? How would you attribute?
Yeah, I'm glad you. Yeah. It is youth. So I think there's a quote that says, "When wisdom comes, if wisdom comes, just because wisdom comes late, is not a reason to reject it." Right?
Gotcha.
And I just young and thought I had the cat by the tail, and could do no wrong. Yeah.
Gotcha. As you and this might be it, but as you reflect back on,
Where's my ring? Yeah. Okay.
Grace,
Hey, wait a minute.
Grace is guarding it back there with her life.
Oh, let me wake.
Grace is guarding it with her life. As you reflect back on the totality of your life so far, not saying it's anywhere close to being over, but just from here back.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. Is there anything you would change, just really change, or maybe not have done or done completely differently other than the Parcells situation?
Yes. I would study the Word, the Bible, much more. And I'm saying that in real time, right? Along with... Right.
Gotcha.
Right. Because I believe that I believe all of our answers, all of my answers are there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. In the final analysis of Greg Lasker, whenever that day comes, that final analysis is done, what do you hope the conclusion is? And whomever's making that final analysis from the outside looking in.
There's only one answer. All I want to hear is, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Okay. Last question before I turn it over to the floor. Talk about the importance of relationships. So I like to talk a lot about results in relationships.
Yes.
Right? There are two keys to success. One is you walk this tightrope of results in relationships, and if you focus on one over the other, you're going to ultimately lose them both. Talk about the balance in your life.
Between, I think relationships is the reason I have chosen the path that I'm on now.
Okay. As a home builder?
As a home builder, because I mentioned the secret sauce earlier, and what was it? What did I say about the secret sauce? Anybody remember? So I think one of my secret sauces was what? Anybody remember? Did I? Okay, it didn't really matter. So, however, so I believe that my superpower is what? What was that? Thank you very much, young man. Amen. I believe my superpower is in my authenticity.
Okay.
Right? Because I always attempt to bring my whole self, whatever that looks like in all its ugliness, right? So, and as I don't make false moves, I don't fake, what is it? You get what you see, right? So I believe that my ability to sustain, grow, and nurture relationships is my game changer.
Very good. Brought that right around, didn't you? That's what I'm talking about. Very good. Some questions from the floor. Yes, sir.
First of all, thank you for coming and being with us this evening.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir. I guess my question is, what was your sole motivation behind wanting to become a custom home builder?
Wow. I've always been, I think I am a closet decorator. I have a fairly decent eye for interiors, for exteriors, for the aesthetics of space, and wanting to be on the creative end of helping to define space in a creative, innovative, and a I like to be in a room where there are no thought police, right? I really don't like when people say, "Oh, we've never done it that way before," right? That's not good. So, yeah, my motivation is one that I like beautiful things, and I think most things are beautiful.
And he builds beautiful homes. I've seen some of those. So, somebody else. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever dealt with procrastination, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah, I deal with that every day, actually. And so I'm dealing with it better now because I realize that sleep is valuable. So how I dealt with it was I pull all-nighters and do whatever is necessary to get to the finish line. So I'm a lot better at it now because, again, I realize the value of sleep, and it's not overrated.
Do you feel like,
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
do you feel like time management plays a big part in that to avoid procrastination? Or what's your idea? I mean, what's your thoughts on time management? What's the importance of that?
So, life throws us a lot of stuff, right? And we have to be really careful what we say yes to. For example, this is the first time I've ever done, I don't normally do this, but I said yes to it because everybody has a story. I'm not that great at telling stories, and I'm not necessarily articulate and all that sort of thing. But I thought, you know what? If I'm in my community, I think I'm doing something pretty valuable, and this is one way to bring about a bit of awareness about, oh yeah, I know Greg. He's that Wampus Cat guy that played football at Arkansas. Didn't he play with the Giants? And then what happened to him, right? While I'm here grinding, I'm grinding. I'm trying to get it done. So, did I get off course with your question? Yeah.
But you answered my question, like what you say yes and no to, it affects your time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll leave it at that if you're happy.
Someone else? Yep.
So, Greg, how do you balance is such an important thing in our lives, especially in an entrepreneur. You've got your family, you've got your kids, you've got your business, you've got your social aspect. What's the key for you to keep all those things lined up and running parallel with each other rather than come crashing in?
Again, I'll say, like I said to this young man, is being very careful what I put on my plate, right? Because it's very easy to get off course, and the devil will throw some stuff at you, right? So I quite honestly, I can tell you, it's God-focused, family-focused, meaning my wife and my kids, my family, my folks, my work, and I do very little socializing. Now, what that looks like is I'm a pretty average, I won't say bad golfer, but yeah, I like to play.
You can say bad. You can say bad.
What?
You can say bad. I've seen you play golf. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're running close.
So all I'm saying is I keep things pretty. I'm very careful about what I say yes to, right? Yeah.
Okay. Ricky, you had another one?
Yes. What's some of the best advice that you've gained over the years that you could tell a young Greg Lasker? Like if you were to advise a younger version of yourself, what would you tell him?
That would be I would identify mentors earlier than I did. I must have been, I might have been 35 when I really began to reach out for assistance, just like that call that I gave you a few months ago, and why I'm here today, right? So, yeah, I think I would look for trusted advisors earlier. And yeah, I'll leave it there.
One more? Yes, sir.
Have you ever had a failed business venture, and if you had, when did you know to give it up? Because earlier you did speak about like hard work and keeping on grinding.
Mm-hmm.
When do you know when it's time to give something up?
Great. What does the exit strategy look like, maybe, right? So, that actually happened to me. That happened to me, and that's what actually took me toward, that's what the Lord opened the door for me that I couldn't open on my own, and that was that Purdue door opening. If you remember, I said I came back in '95, and I was working with the family in putting a succession plan in place. And at that time, I think my family was doing $500,000 worth of work. And in about 3 years' time, next thing I know, we were doing $20 million, and went from 6 employees, 7 employees to 45, right? I'm working, a family, I'm doing an MBA, and there was just no time for sleep. Anyway, so I got upside down on some things, and my bonding company in construction, particularly commercial construction, you bond jobs. Anyway, so I got a knock on the door, and that knock was about $1 million knock, right? And I had to put a workout strategy together to back my way out of that. Now, that started to go that way in '04. I finally, it took me until '09 to work my way out of that $1 million hole. So that's when the offer came, and I took it for Purdue. But I saw the writing on the wall when the bonding company did not accept my workout plan, right? They wanted to come after me, wanted me to go a BK or bankruptcy, and I'm not doing that, and I just paid them all.
Last question that we always like to ask is, give us your best pearl of wisdom, your best piece of leadership advice, life advice, what have you, that you can leave us with today.
Leaders don't have office hours. I believe that most of us, get ourselves in trouble when we don't have clear expectations, right? Clear, concise expectations, which gets into an area of communication, right? You've heard of George Bernard Shaw, yes? My favorite quote from Mr. Shaw is that the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place, right? I'm a ardent, staunch communicator. If you reach out to me, if you text, phone, carrier pigeon, I don't care. You'll hear back from me. When you text me, I might not have anything to say, but thumbs up or something. If you reach out to me, you send me something. If you've not heard from me in 24 hours, you send out send out what do they call an
MIA or AWOL or
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do what? Search party. So I believe communication is key, and in setting a firm expectation about results.
Very good. Greg, thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
Lots
absolutely.
of pearls of wisdom for us to think through and process tonight. No, really, we appreciate it. We appreciate it a lot, and thank you all for coming. We'll be doing this again next month in March, of course. And Christina Lacour, who's here with us today, she will be our game changer. So I encourage you to do a little research and get your questions ready for her. One thing I want to mention is that we have a number of events going on next door in the Makerspace on a regular basis. Encourage you to check those out. Our next Startup Stories, Grace, do we have that on the books yet?
Yes. It's also the second Wednesday of the month at 11:30 in the Makerspace.
Second Wednesday of March in the Makerspace. It's over lunch, around 11:30 to 1, roughly. We always have food, and we have Datasso, which is a software company that focuses on pediatric therapy. So encourage you guys to come to that. It's a great time. All of our events start and end with networking, so we encourage you to hang around, meet somebody that you don't know. Once again, Greg, thank you. We appreciate you very much, and thanks for your work in our community as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Amen.